And so the title of the message tonight is Faith Unshaken. So looking at the scenario in the book of Daniel, if you read verses there, you realize that there is what you would call the air in the throne room being cracked with ambition and envy. Because you look at the scenario where the powerful satraps and administrators are threatened by Daniel's exceptional character, and the king's favor hatched a sinister plot against him. Knowing Daniel's unshakable devotion to his God was his core, they manipulated King Darius into signing an irrevocable decree. For 30 days, prayer could be offered only to the king himself. And disobedience meant death in the lion's den. And so in Daniel chapter 6 verse 10 we read, "Now when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened toward Jerusalem. 3 times a day he got down to his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God, just as he did before." Daniel didn't rage. He didn't scheme or hide. He didn't compromise or pray in secret. He simply did what he had always done. He prayed openly, faithfully towards Jerusalem. His consistency wasn't defiance for defiance sake. It was the outward expression of an inward reality. His absolute dependence on and loyalty to Yahweh. He knew the lions awaited, yet he chose faithfulness over fear. He trusted the character of his God more than the cruelty of men. And so we go to the den, bound and lowered into the stone pit. Daniel faced the ultimate test. The roars of hungry lions must have been deafening, the darkness suffocating, the stench overwhelming. King Darius, realizing too late the wickedness of the plot, spent a sleepless night, anguished, and said, "May your God, whom you serve, continually rescue you," according to Daniel chapter 6 and verse 16. And so we read verse 19 to 22 of Daniel 6, and it says, "At the first glance of dawn, the king got up and hurried to the lion's den. When he came near the den, he called to Daniel in an anguished voice. 'Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God whom you serve continually been able to rescue you from the lions?' Daniel answered, 'May the king live forever. My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me, because I was found innocent in his sight. Nor have I ever done any wrong before you, your majesty.'" That's from Daniel chapter 6, verse 19 to 22. God didn't prevent the den. He preserved Daniel in it. So amazing. The lions were muzzled not by Daniel's strength, but by divine power. Daniel emerged unscathed because he had trusted in his God, according to Daniel chapter 6 and verse 23. His faith wasn't in deliverance from the trial, but in the faithfulness of his God. Through it, his innocence before God was his ultimate shield. And so we have some takeaways from the story of Daniel in the den. Daniel's story isn't just an ancient miracle. It's a mirror of our own souls. We all face lions, quote unquote, dens. And situations of fear, pressure, temptation, injustice, or loss, where the roar threatens to drown our faith. It might be a workplace demand to compromise ethics, a health crisis, relational betrayal, or the crushing weight of anxiety. Here, consistency is key. That's what we've been talking about tonight. Consistency. It is key. Daniel's faithfulness before the crisis equipped him during it. Our daily choices to pray, read scripture, and walk in integrity build the spiritual resilience needed when the real test comes. Don't wait for the den to develop your prayer life. Faith over fear. Takeaway number 2. Daniel chose God's approval over man's decree, eternity over temporary safety. When forced to choose, whose voice will you obey? The roar of the world or the whisper of the Spirit of God? Thirdly, trust in God's character. God didn't abandon Daniel. He may not always remove the den, but he promises his presence within it. Isaiah 43 and verse 2 would remind us of that. We trust not in a specific outcome, but in the unchanging nature of God, who holds the outcome. As the great preacher Charles Spurgeon once said, when you go through trial, the Lord keeps the door. He shuts it, and no man can open it. Or he opens it and no man can shut it. The lion is loose, but the Lord holds a chain. God's purpose will always prevail. Daniel's trial resulted in a pagan king declaring, I issue a decree that in every part of my kingdom people must fear and reverence the God of Daniel. For he is the living God and he endures forever, according to Daniel chapter 6 and verse 26. Our faithfulness in the dark can become a powerful testimony in his light. And so our response tonight. Are you facing a den today, as we've described through the story of Daniel? Does the roar feel overwhelming? Remember Daniel. Remember the God who shut the lions' mouths. Open your window towards Jerusalem. Turn your heart towards him in prayer right now, just as you always do. Choose faithfulness over fear. Trust that the God who sees you in the darkness is mighty to save. He may deliver you from the den, or he may deliver you through it, but he will never abandon you in it.